the lab fitness consultants was just like an idea, and we decided to make a decision and kind of pursue it. Just like everything I'm going to talk about with you today, Team Moljo, everything starts as an idea. And most people kind of see the end picture of things, like seeing the end picture of having this first conference, seeing the end picture of owning a facility. You get so overwhelmed with the end picture that you start to think, this is kind of impossible, this isn't for me, this is a lot of work, this is a lot of responsibility, this is going to require a lot of time, a lot of money, I'm going to be really uncomfortable throughout all this. You're like, I can't do it. My goal today is to kind of prove to all of you guys that owning a business, starting a consulting company, whatever it is you want to do, whatever goals you wrote down during Casey's presentation, you can fucking do it. And no one can stop you. So,
66 more to go.
So as you all already know, I'm John Moljo. I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist. I'm an AFA certified personal trainer, a NASM certified personal trainer, CSAC, a previously employed Parisi Speed School performance coach. So I'll kind of get into the details, but
broke your heart too?
What's that?
No. Broke your heart too?
Owner at Team Moljo Strength and Conditioning and co-founder of the Lab Fitness Consultants with Neil. So I'm in the 10th year of my career. I started in 2007 as a physical therapy technician. I sustained an ACL injury. I spent so much time at the physical therapy office, they just gave me a job. I started school at Iona College, finished my associate's degree at Westchester Community College, and in 2009 I transferred to SUNY Plattsburgh, where I met this lovely person, and there'll be another person venturing here shortly who is also a friend from college. SUNY Plattsburgh hires, before they had the fitness, wellness, and leadership major, they would just interview a bunch of kids who wanted to work at the job. I'd say maybe they interviewed 50 to 60 kids and they hired like 5, 6, or 7. They pay for all your certifications. So my junior year, I applied for a job. I'd spent a lot of time at the gym. They said you should really apply for it. And I was offered a position at SUNY Plattsburgh. It was unlikely I was going to get the position because they usually hire kids who are going to be sophomores or juniors. If they're going to invest that much money in getting them certified, they want those kids to be able to work there for more than 2 semesters. So I got lucky. I got hired along with Casey. TJ was already a supervisor at the facility. And I spent my senior year at SUNY Plattsburgh working for a SUNY-based fitness facility. My senior year, I needed 21 credits to graduate. And one thing I promised myself was to not take more than 4 years to get a 4-year degree. I had already transferred twice. I needed a total of 120 credits to graduate. I graduated with like 168 because I transferred so many times. So one of the opportunities I had was to try and set up an internship to fulfill these 6 credits left so I can graduate on time and not have to spend another semester at SUNY Plattsburgh partying my ass off and taking one class. So I sat with the fitness director and I said, hey, what kind of opportunities are there to create an internship here? He goes, well, we've never had interns before, but I think we can come up with something. Let me know what you can do. So this is where I kind of plugged in all of my business courses, my business expertise, and I was like, I think I can help with this, and this. Can we get a 6-credit internship set up? So in addition to working my lovely 6:45 a.m. shifts on Fridays, which were rough shifts because Thursdays at SUNY Plattsburgh was like the pinnacle fucking party night. Like everyone went out, partied, and lovely Casey Lee would bring me in coffee, bring me in bagels, and hear about my horror stories from the night before. So in addition to training there, I had about 15 hours of shifts. I trained a couple of clients. I had to spend an additional 15 hours there per week as my internship responsibilities as an assistant director. As a SUNY-based assistant director or intern director, I learned a lot about financing, budgeting, staffing, scheduling, but how awesome the day-to-day operations were in a fitness center. Upon graduation, I attained my first corporate position at Club Fit in Jefferson Valley. It's about 15 minutes away. Most of you guys know what that is. At Club Fit, I was interviewed by the general manager, which no entry-level personal trainers are really interviewed by the general manager. They're usually interviewed by the fitness manager. I interviewed with the general manager, and in that meeting, I told him, one day I'm going to open my own gym. That's what I want to do. So in hindsight, it's pretty awesome because that's come to fruition as well. He gave me a job as a personal trainer in fitness. In my first 3 months, I became the #2 performing trainer. There was a woman there named Jen Schildwasser who was like crushing it, like no one was ever going to touch her sessions. But in 3 months, I became the #2 performing trainer. I did so well. Club Fit had this awesome franchise, the Peekskill Speech School, that they asked me if I'd like to be a performance coach there. About 6 months of being at Club Fit, I was promoted to a performance coach at the Peekskill Speech School. This was still in 2010. Parisi was undergoing some serious changes in my initial couple of months there. One coach was diagnosed with cancer. He stepped away. Another coach was terminated for soliciting. And the program director at the time wanted to step away because of the split schedule, working in the morning, working at night. The fitness business wasn't really good for him and his family. So, although there was a lot of negativity going on, it turned into a lot of opportunity for myself. Within 5 months, I became the interim program director of the Peekskill Speech School. We had 2 other coaches who were involved with the school, and I pretty much was responsible for any leads coming in, any marketing. Again, got a lot of responsibility thrown my way. In the end of 2011, they actually hired someone to be the director for the Peekskill Speech School, someone who I found had 0 credibility. I didn't really align with this guy. He and I didn't get along. I was 22 years old. I had a pretty big ego. My ego got the best of me, and ultimately he terminated me. By the way, they asked me to resign. If you're ever a corporate employee and someone asks you to resign, tell them to terminate you so you can collect unemployment. So he asked me to resign. I said, nah, you guys can terminate me, so I'm going to collect unemployment. So I was terminated from Club Fit, where I was forced to either A, take a job at Equinox for $8 an hour and commute to New York City all the time, or really start to develop my business. Really start. Am I lying? He was like, you need to go to like Equinox school. It's like Monday to Friday from like 8 to 11. You get paid $8 an hour. I'm like, bro, that doesn't even cover my fucking train ride, like from Peekskill all the way down. He goes, you probably got to be here at like 7 in the morning. So it wasn't ideal for me. So I was actually forced to become an independent contractor, or do I just abandon fitness and leave the industry and kind of pursue some other type of business endeavor? I had incredible success as an independent contractor. In 2014, I decided it was time to finally open up my own facility. I've been at Team Mojo Strength Conditioning in Putnam Valley from December 2014 up until this point, where I've met all of these awesome people you see here who are staff members of mine, to actually now, within the past 2 weeks, signing a lease for Team Mojo 2.0, a larger facility with a much larger team and a much larger community with much larger goals that are going to be accomplished. So that's me. So over the past 10 years, everything I've done has been pretty much fitness related, health related, growth related. So I really wanted to include this slide here about worthy ideals, because early in my career I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but more importantly I wasn't sure why I was doing the things I did. But now, after 10 years of being so invested in this industry, I know why I do what I do. And my worthy ideal is to lead, motivate, and empower either student athletes and their families, fitness professionals, business owners, and entrepreneurs to become self-disciplined, teachable, relentless, optimistic, noble, grateful, empowering, respectful, to help them become stronger and healthier so that they can achieve their goals, but at the same time lead, motivate, and empower others to do the same. And I think this is the big thing in fitness that we're lacking. Fitness has gone so far beyond you working with one person. I think you need to learn how to teach people to help other people, and that's really how you grow your influence. And I try and do this each and every day with my staff, spending a lot of time with them, and getting them to do the same thing with other people. And that I think is the biggest reason why Team Mojo has grown from someone who did personal training in pizza places to now soon to be a 5,000 square foot facility. This is the shit that wakes me up in the morning, right? This is why I created the lab. This is why I'm, taking the big risk and sacrificing like being a homeowner to open another gym. So what I really want you guys to start thinking about is, why is it that you do the things that you do? For a couple reasons. One, it's just awesome. But two, what's up, bro? It really helps you start to Identify the things that you want to do in your life, but more importantly, the things that you can say no to. And as you grow in this industry, you really get pressed for time. You get a lot of opportunities thrown your way, and it's simple. If it doesn't align with my worthy ideal, if it doesn't do this, if it doesn't add value to me, if it doesn't add happiness, if it doesn't add wealth, just get that shit out of your life already. And that's when you can start to experience a lot more success. You guys will see me kind of bounce back and forth between my notes and slides because it doesn't have the presenter view here. And I'm super OCD when I present, and I spend a lot of time kind of preparing for this, so I want to make sure I get you guys everything. So, before I dive into my story, I want you to understand that everything I talk about today comes from a place of empathy. I've been in a corporate setting. I've just collected a paycheck. I've been fired. I've had to fire people. I've been hired. I now hire people. I've paid rent to facilities. I've collected rent from independent contractors. So when I give you the last 10 years of my life or so, expect there's going to be excitement, there's going to be emotion, there's going to be F-bombs. But the most important thing is I want you guys to challenge my perspective because I will for certain challenge yours. So, The One Thing, book promo right here. Has anyone here ever read the book, The One Thing? Has anyone here ever heard of the book?
I couldn't finish it. I was like, this is a 500-word article.
Yeah.
Spread out into 800 pages.
So I'm going to summarize the book right now. So The One Thing pretty much says, what's the one thing you need to focus on, the small obstacle that you can kind of overcome, the small tasks that you can achieve, that if you just achieve it, everything else is going to go into place. If you put all your focus on this one thing, everything else is kind of just going to happen. In the book, they use this cool domino analogy, and I'll play the YouTube video. I was originally going to bring dominoes here and do it for you guys, but then I found this video that was way cooler. But I think this video is the one thing. It summarizes the entire book. So it was definitely a 5-page book that was 200 pages too long. But definitely worth taking a look at.
And the smallest domino is about 5 millimeters high and 1 millimeter thick. And I will carefully place it. And there are 13 dominoes. And the largest domino, it weighs about 100 pounds and is more than a meter tall. Ready? Boom. That was 13 dominoes. If I had 29 dominoes, the last domino would be as tall as the Empire State Building.
Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
So that's 13. If you had double the amount of dominoes, his last domino will be the height of the Empire State Building. So, what does that mean? What does the one thing mean? First of all, how many of you guys have a one thing? How many of you guys wake up every day and you're like, I'm going to put all my focus on this, and then everything in life is just going to take care of itself? Who's got that? Fucking nobody's got that. Nobody's got one thing that they focus on, that everything, I can just hear your pen click. Unfortunately, I can't make things that easy for you guys. If you want to become a business owner, if you want to own your own facility, if you want to be successful in corporate, if you want to be successful as an independent contractor, there's way more than one thing you need to focus on. But what I tried to do is give you the minimal things that I find that if you focus on these 5 things, you can be incredibly successful in this industry. Number 1, people come first. You need strong, symbiotic relationships. This can be with your clients. This can be with coworkers. This can be with people with leadership positions in your facility. This can be with other business owners. Your relationships will serve you more success than anybody you know. And it's so true, and I'm learning this more and more each day. It's not about what you know, it is about who you know. So grow your network. Even if it's not someone who's going to be a paid client, if somewhere down the line that person can add value to you in any way, shape, or form, that's awesome. And this takes work. This doesn't just happen. So look at your network, look at the people who you're surrounded by, and make sure you're putting in work into those relationships to make sure they're growing and becoming beneficial for both you and the other person. Number 2, you need to produce results. More specifically, progressive results. Whether it's working with clients and your clients are either, if their goal is to lose weight, they're losing weight. If their goal is to get stronger, their volume or the weight that they're using is getting stronger. If you're a corporate trainer or an independent contractor, maybe your specific results are A, you're increasing the amount of sessions you're delivering wherever you are, you're increasing your closing rate, you're increasing your retention rate, you're increasing the amount of recurring revenue you're bringing to the business. You need to produce progressive results. And number 2, and this is the real big one, intangible results. These are huge. These are things along the lines of character development. Are you making people more confident? Are you making people more comfortable? Are people having more fun when they're around you? These are the really, really big things that kind of get overlooked because you can't measure these things. And these are really hard things to kind of communicate to either employees, hard things to communicate to clients. So, if you were training with a client for a year, it's easy to say, hey, in the past year you've lost 15, 20 pounds, you're doing great, but wow, in the past year you're so much more confident, you're so much more comfortable in your own skin, and these are things that people don't realize, but these are the real reasons why people buy training with you. These are the real reasons why people want to be a part of what you're doing. Number 3, go above and beyond. Offer more time when you can. If you have the time to spend with people, give it to them. Make yourself available. You guys touched on this both. Give, 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 give. Early in my career, when I didn't have training clients, I was volunteering for teams. I was coaching for no money. I was putting myself out there, whether I got paid or not. I was building my network. I was putting value out there. I was creating awareness about what I do, where I do it, how I can be of service to anyone else. Make additional points of contact to your clients. This could be a couple of different things, simple as texting your clients if they haven't seen you in a really long time. Maybe going and attending clients' off-site events. These are huge. I've traveled to Texas to watch clients playing games. I've traveled all over to watch clients compete in certain events. And like that big hug after these things, like that's why you're in this industry. That's why you do these things. And that's so huge for them. And that's in terms of you maybe delivering the client experience, but the next big thing is if you are an employee somewhere or you own your own business, the way you're going to add extra value is fucking be early all the time. Be there when you don't have to be there. Offer to help when you don't have to offer to help. That's massive. Stay and clean the facility. Like Neil was saying, like pick stuff up. Put the towels away. Like this is so huge. Like we live in a business world where you differentiate yourself from A, your customer service, but 2, your corporate service. When people are looking to hire, they're looking to hire for character. Everything else can be trained. Character cannot be trained. So prime examples, I have a coach who I trained for about 6 years before we took him on employment. And like it just came natural to him, like at the end of the day, picking shit up. What can I do to help? Staying an extra 20 minutes, 30 minutes, when like he doesn't have to, but he's okay to. And like now my entire staff will stay after hours are done, and just like in Legacy, like everyone mops the floors. When I'm there, I mop the fucking floors. Like I clean the floors, and it's like it's fun, it's cool. But like I know if I hire some random person off the street, the likelihood of me getting that person who's going to stay an extra 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes is very unlikely. So when I get people like that, I'm keeping them, I'm cherishing them, I appreciate them. Number 4, protect your time. Who here uses a schedule? What do you put in your schedule?
For the week?
Yeah.
First thing that goes in my schedule is the 3 most important things I have to get done that week.
Like?
No, like reaching out to members, things like whatever's gonna generate money is probably prioritized. Reaching out to members, following up on sales calls, things like that.
So this is the big thing. It's in addition to your clients, in addition to any meetings that you might have, everything else, especially things that you do for yourself, put it in your schedule. Like training time, I put it in my schedule. Like if I'm going to read, I try and put that in my schedule. And committing to those things that maybe you're not getting paid for with the same level of commitment that you would have if you had a client. So getting up early to kind of take care of things that you want to personally do, like reading books or personal development or preparing for something. Because you know at later times in the day, there's going to be too many distractions, so much stuff going on, that there's no way in hell you can be able to sit and focus on these things. And this is huge because it allows you to say no to things. This is where the ideal comes in. My schedule is crazy. It changes each and every week. But from the hours of like 7 a.m. to usually 7 or 8 p.m., something business related is going in that time. And if it doesn't get put into my schedule, does it happen?
No.
No. Like, it doesn't. And prime example, when she asks, hey, when can we meet? What's the first thing I say?
Put yourself in my schedule.
Go put yourself in my schedule. Like, I get up each and every day. I don't know what it is the night before. I open the book. Boom. Like, use a schedule. Commit to your schedule. Off-site events, put it in your schedule. Plan stuff out. Because the last thing you want to do is put too much stuff on your schedule. You said you were going to be somewhere. You can't be there. People are going to start to get frustrated with you. And number 5. So this quote actually comes from Mark Cuban's book, How to Win at the Sport of Business. Super easy read, and even much easier audible. You all know who Mark Cuban is, right? Oh yeah, he's like a gajillionaire. He's awesome. So in fitness, you're always selling, always be prospecting, always be selling, whatever you want to call it. And you're either A, trying to sell yourself to new clients, but the big thing is you need to constantly be selling yourself to your existing clients. Who here has lost a client before or has had a client that stopped training? Who's here has had 2 or more clients that stopped training? 3 or more? 4 or more? What would your life look like, your schedule look like, your income look like right now if you retained every client you ever had over the lifetime of your career?
Lots.
Aggressive. Just personally speaking, on a business level for Team Mojo, if we never lost a client and we had all our members, we'd probably be doing another $6 or $7 grand a month. So, retain your clients. You are earning your clients' business every single day. I don't give a shit if you've been training them for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. You are constantly delivering value to those clients because at the end of the day, they have to justify why they're spending $180 an hour or $70 an hour, $80 an hour for your services. So, I mean, that's really all you need to know to be successful in fitness. So, thanks. All right, so the juicy stuff. I guess now is the part where I tell you guys how I became a business owner. And honestly, after thinking, how can I make this simple? The only thing I could do is tell you guys my story, tell you guys how I did it, and hopefully you can take away some things from that. It's not the right way, it's not the wrong way, but I do think there's going to be a lot of value in how I did things, and I hope you guys can take away, even if it's just one thing, to kind of put you a little bit closer to either A, increasing your business as an independent contractor, increasing your business in a corporate setting, or finally mustering up the courage to want to do your own thing and not have to be a slave to anyone else's priorities or schedules. Damn, I miss working in the corporate setting. Who here has ever heard anyone say that before? Didn't fucking think so. Definitely not.
I mean, I kind of like it.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
made a lot of money.
Corporate, actually, in hindsight, I'm speaking in hindsight right now, was actually pretty awesome. So I'm going to go through, each avenue I spent in my life, talk about the pros, talk about the cons, the big lessons I learned. But now as a business owner, when I reflect on corporate, it was actually pretty awesome. So let's start with some pros, and I definitely want you guys to add pros. Everyone here has different experience, pros. Some of the pros I have you might find as a con, but I definitely want to open up the floor, and you guys can just chime in wherever you see fit, especially you over there. So, some pros. The corporation has direct benefit to your success. So most corporate trainers, they have like a split commission of like 25%, 35%, 40%. So you always feel like the corporate business is stealing from you, that you're working incredibly hard, you're not benefiting from it. At the end of the day, the more successful you are, the more successful the corporation is going to be. So knowing that, reach out to management, right? Don't let management undermanage you. Reach out to other people in the facility and let them mentor you and ask, how can they be of help? How can they help you be more successful in the corporate setting? In the corporate setting, there are lots of people. How many members do you guys have?
3,000.
3,000 members. How many members did you guys have at Equinox?
Between 5 and 6.
5,000 and 6,000. Like thousands of opportunities for you to gain awareness, for you to impact people, for you to generate business, potentially get a client. Our facility is in Putnam Valley. I don't think 5,000 people have walked past our facility in the 3 years we've been there, if I'm going to be honest. So if we had a facility where it was an open door and we had that many people, it'd be a game changer for us. Who here has ever worked floor hours? Who here liked working floor hours? Didn't think so. But again, in hindsight, you're being paid to put yourself out there and try and get clients. Who here right now gets paid to try and get clients? Who here would want to get paid right now to try and get clients? Right? Corporate allows you to do that, which is pretty awesome. And at the end of the day, if you're not going to try and get clients, you just hide in the corner and fucking do homework or scroll through Facebook, Instagram, and get paid for that too. That's pretty cool. In a corporate setting, you have no expenses. You're not paying rent to the facility. You don't have to carry your own insurance policy. Most corporate gyms have access to lots of equipment. I don't think people who don't own equipment understand how expensive this stuff is. You have a cafe in a corporate setting, which is pretty awesome. The other day I went to visit Jay at Premiere, and they have this like outdoor pool with like a fucking bar. Like, what? Like, that's pretty sick. So again, a lot of opportunity here. One, I'm sure in the summer there's a lot of people out there by the pool, a lot of people hanging out by the bar. Getting to know someone's name in that setting, like that's selling. We just talked about that with Neil's presentation. An opportunity to put yourself out there, meet more people. Or at the very least, if you need a break, you go to the cafe, go to the bar, find a quiet spot, hang out, take a load off. Our current facility, we don't have a cafe, we don't have a bar. When we want to take a break, it's 5 people sitting in an office this big. Because as an owner, I can't justify having 60 square foot or whatever bar for people to kind of just hang out in. But 2.0, we're going to have a much larger space for people to kind of congregate, hang out, and kind of step away from the busyness of the facility when they can. In a corporate setting, you are provided with everything you need to build yourself a respectable following of clientele. You're given leads. They're doing the marketing for you. You're given equipment. What else do you really need to get started?
I miss corporate. That sounds good.
You get benefits in corporate?
You do get benefits in corporate sometimes. You get health benefits.
Just say my resume later.
Look, you get to collect a paycheck, so it's relatively stress-free, it's relatively risk-free. At the end of the day, you get to collect your paycheck, leave the facility, and you don't have to worry about anything. So there's no risk, other than maybe risking like an opportunity elsewhere, but there isn't much risk. And most corporate gyms, especially when you're dealing with like Equinoxes and Premier, like they've been in business for a really, really long time. So as long as they're in business, you're gonna have a job. Where some of these mom and pop gyms, these smaller gyms, it is a grind. So if they go out of business and you work there, guess who doesn't have a job? And lastly, I found this as a pro, being surrounded by other trainers, especially ones who were like light years ahead of me, competing with them. Like competing with other trainers to learn from, to grow from. There was a board in Club Fit, and it would tally like the amount of sessions delivered. In the back of Parisi, they wrote all the coaches' names, and it showed the amount of income they were responsible for generating for the month. And like, I loved it. Like that was motivating for me every day. I was like, she's got 70 sessions, I gotta get 71. Or he made how much money for the department this week? I gotta go beat that. So those are my pros. What about you guys? What pros do you guys have for the corporate setting, if any? And then they could be hindsight pros. How many of you guys kind of miss corporate now?
Continuing education stipend,
They get to pay, they pay for some of your continuing education, that's pretty cool.
company phone.
Insurance.
Wait, where do you work?
Start listing off my comp plan.
Yeah, mine paid for me to come here. So.
There you go. Awesome. most people when they're in corporate, it's very early in their career. So you're like not actually aware that like all of this stuff has to go on, or like all of this stuff is like so crucial to being successful. So again, that's why this is a hindsight conversation. Would I go back to corporate? No, I would not. But would I like to see some of these things in my business today? Absolutely. So let's get into some cons. Some people don't like competition. Some people don't work well with others. So competing with other trainers can be a negative thing. Lots of people look at the prime candidate of a personal trainer who doesn't have a successful business in a club that has 5,000 members, 6,000 members. Sometimes there's too many people to choose from. They don't know how to say hello. They don't know how to approach them. So it can be perceived as negative. You have to follow rules and guidelines. Every club you work at is going to have rules. They're going to have guidelines. You have to abide by them, get used to it. I don't care what environment you're in, whether it's a corporate setting, you're an independent contractor, or you're working for a small business, there's going to be rules and guidelines. You have to meet minimum standards and requirements. Just speaking from experience, I think you had to have a minimum of, maybe it was different when you worked at corporate there, I think you had to have a minimum of like 10 or 20 sessions a month or something like that. Is that right? Or
Yeah, it's like same time.
Yeah, it's not, it's terrible. But say you have to have a minimum of 50 sessions per month and you're new, and within 3 months they're expected to have 50 sessions per month and you don't. You sit down with your manager, hey, you're not meeting our minimum standards. Guess what? They have a resume or multiple resumes of other people coming to take that job. They're gonna find someone who can do it if you can't. Again, I talked about this before. You're working hard for someone else to benefit more than you, or you're working hard for someone else's dream, to make someone else's dream come true. And I think this can be taken from Casey's presentation when it's so important to be in alignment, have your values in alignment with the values of the parent company. And it's kind of hard because in a corporate setting you'll have 20, 30, 40, 50 trainers. How does a large corporation align with 50 different people? It's tough. You're going to get some outliers. You're going to get some people who just don't align. And then, there might not be opportunity for growth and advancement. So maybe there isn't some managerial opportunity for you. Maybe you just kind of get stuck in you only can train more, and there isn't anything beyond becoming a personal trainer in that facility. What other cons did you guys experience in the corporate setting?
I just hate answering to certain people. I mean, like, premieres, we have way too many chefs in the kitchen, and it's a problem. Too many personalities, too many people think they have authority over others, and
some of the most valuable lessons I learned working in a corporate setting. Number one, respect the chain of command. So as I mentioned in my introduction, Parisi hired a new director after I was the interim director, and he and I did not get along. I didn't think he had much credibility, and to my mistake, I kind of voiced it, and I was pretty egotistical, and I made sure he kind of knew it, and I made sure other members knew it. But at the end of the day, he was my immediate supervisor, and he had all of the authority in the world to terminate me, and he did just that. And I lost a pretty awesome job. I loved what I was doing there. Number two, be a team player and make those around you better. So as the interim director, I had immediate access to all the leads, all the evaluations, all the prospects. So I ultimately made sure that these things turned into clients and income for myself because I was the one sitting in the office. So as an interim director, it was my responsibility to kind of deviate those things out, help the other coaches get started, help them do evaluations. So these things taught me a couple things. Number one, it taught me the type of boss I wanted to be, and I always wanted to be a credible boss. The guy I worked for had no experience training athletes. He had failed the exam that you need to become a certified Parisi performance coach twice. So I thought he had no credibility. So anytime I ask my staff to do something, I make sure it's something that I'm versed in, I'm experienced in, and that they know that I'm a credible resource to help them out. Being a team player, I spend a lot of time with my staff now, talking to them about whether it's delivering awesome consultations, having meetings about maybe personal issues that they have, but anything that's going to help them out is going to help the greater good of the team. Number 3, you are replaceable and your character matters. So I was the top performing fitness trainer. I was the interim director of the Peekskill Speech School. I generated the most amount of sales. I was responsible for probably 90% of the income the department was bringing in. And at the end of the day, I was terminated and replaced. So I don't care who you are, where you work, what you do, you are replaceable. And it's unfortunate, but these things happen. So, after being pretty much escorted or thrown out of Club Fit, I decided to roll the dice and enter my career as an independent contractor. I became my own boss. So whether you're an independent contractor that pays rent at a facility, an independent contractor that has some type of commission agreement with the facility, it doesn't matter. Both pros, cons kind of interlie with the same. So some pros, you're in charge. Mostly. In this industry, your clients are always in charge. So you guys as an independent contractor, you could make your own schedule. In some settings, if you're paying rent to a facility, you can dictate what your rates are going to be. That's up to you. So those are some good pros. You start to develop some ownership responsibilities, how to operate an independent business. You get to work for cash, and it's pretty awesome. So if you pay rent to a facility and you're training clients, you can have your clients pay you cash. If I can tell you guys right now, the tax write-offs and the cash thing it is a hard game to kind of finagle with. If you're working for cash and you plan to do bigger and better things with your career, you need to start to establish a financial history. So if you ever decide to, 1, take out a mortgage, B, get a line of credit, C, open a facility or take out an SBA loan, a bank needs to see a financial history to know whether A, you can fulfill on accruing this debt, or if you're going to be someone who can actually commit to this financial burden, we'll call it, over the next 2 years, 3 years, 7 years, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you don't want to have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars in cash, thousands of dollars of taxes back to your money. So my first year in business, second year in business actually, we're doing really well, and all of a sudden it's like the end of the year, and my accountant's like, you're gonna have to pay like 18 grand back in taxes. I'm like, I got 18 grand back in taxes. He's like, well, you've been showing, X amount of profit, so you have to finagle this back and forth and back and forth. The last thing you want to do is get screwed at the end of the year and have to pay back a significant amount of income that you made. As an independent contractor, you have little or no overhead, which is pretty awesome. You have no need to worry about staff. That's not your responsibility. You get to make your own schedule, and you could place blame. And the biggest lesson I learned here was when I used to rent space from this place in Manpack called Bad Mikey's. The place was filthy. The dogs would run around. There was never like soap in the bathrooms. There was never paper towels. The driveway was never plowed. So anytime one of my clients or one of their clients complained about it, I was like, well, it's not my gym. It's them. In hindsight, I should have took some ownership to this, which in a corporate setting where you're kind of like walking around like you own the place, you don't own the place, but you can start to embrace ownership responsibilities, which is huge, especially when you can take on these responsibilities and not have the actual risk of being a business owner. Some cons. You need to learn how to negotiate. So if you pay rent at a facility, are you going to pay this facility a flat rate, or are you going to pay this facility a percentage base? Neither is right, neither is wrong. Obviously, you need to negotiate the one that you think is going to be least expensive for you. But also you negotiate income. If you're working at a facility, do you want the facility to provide you a flat rate for your services, or do you want the facility to provide you a percentage base for your services? Neither is right, neither is wrong. You need to negotiate which one is going to generate more income for you. Personally, I like percentage base when it comes to income, and I like flat rate when it comes to expenses. With a percentage on the more money you make, they're constantly going to take more money from you. So from experience, they told me my rent was $500 a month. No matter how big my business gets, it's never going to go up. My business got pretty big in Bad Mikey's, and then the owner eventually said to me, all right, well, we're going to double your rent. I'm like, no, we're not. We negotiated a flat rate. That's what it is. So learn how to negotiate those things. You now have to do your own sales and marketing, especially if you're in a facility. Like for someone like you, Kieran, like your name isn't on the front of the building. When someone walks into New York Strong, they don't know you're an independent contractor per se. So if someone walks into there, are you entitled to that business, or is New York Strong entitled to that business? I used to train at Bad Mikey's MMA. I trained at Chung Ma's Taekwondo. So when these people came in looking for like MMA stuff, they were walking into a facility not looking for my services. So there was a big disconnect on that end. But also once in a while, people would walk in and say, hey, I'm looking to do some type of fitness or strength and conditioning. And I knew I was the best person in that building to provide that service, but why am I entitled to that business? So realizing those things, and maybe you're having some type of conversation with the owners. Hey, when these people walk in and you guys aren't around, because these owners weren't around a lot, if I talk to them, maybe we can work out some type of symbiotic relationship where I generate a sale, I close, and you get maybe a flat rate initially or some type of percentage of it. Limitations on where and when you can train. So is there any limitations at New York Strong, like times you can't be there?
No.
No?
That's a pro for me.
It's a pro?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So where I trained, they would have classes going on. And guess when their classes were?
Peak hours.
6, 7, 8 a.m.,
Peak hours.
6, 7, 8 p.m.
Guess when all my clients wanted to train?
Peak hours.
6, 7, 8 a.m.,
Right? So
6, 7, 8 p.m.
it was either A, I couldn't train because the facility was being utilized, or B, there would be like some awesome crazy kids class going on and I have my client on this like one corner. So there would be times I'd have to train people in this space, but then other times I could train clients in like this much space. Why should they be paying the same amount of money for that? Hey, we're gonna just use this kettlebell and you have to stare at this wall for the next hour because there's like, Nicole trained with me at Bad Mikey's, it's what it was. So it can jeopardize your business. Some clients might not like that. Limitations on growing your business around other independents or in an existing business. So again, if there's other independent contractors in the facility, if you decide that you want to offer group exercise or small group exercise and you're going to have 4 to 6 clients coming in, what's the availability of the space going to be? Do you have to navigate around other clients? What type of experience you create? Do you play loud techno EDM music, and does that conflict with the guy training the 80-year-old man that has Parkinson's disease? So balancing that act is pretty tough. Again, not much exposure and opportunity for growth. Your name isn't on the building. No one knows who you are, so you're kind of trying to get yourself out there through other platforms. You have to start to carry your own insurance. So again, you're accruing some of your own expenses now. You no longer have a corporate facility to do this for you. You have to start to do your own bookkeeping. Get an accountant. Right? You're a fitness professional. You are not an accountant. Get an accountant, let them do it for you, and he will help you navigate, hey, you should claim this much if you're planning to do this in a year or two. And this is going to save you at the end for taxes. But also, I'm addicted to like Nike ID shoes, Michael Jordan shoes, and like all that shit to tax write-off. So speak with an accountant and let him tell you what you can start to deduct to save you at the end of the year when you have to kind of do your taxes. Some of the biggest lessons I learned, you can start to embrace ownership responsibility without the risk. So 3 months out to knowing that I was going to end my relationship paying rent with Bad Mikey's and open my own facility, I started to ask questions like, hey, what's your guys' rent like? What do your utilities look like? How do you guys get clients? Who's responsible for this? Who's responsible for that? Start to learn as much as you can about ownership because it's only going to help you become a better professional whether you own a facility or not, and it's only going to help you become a better employee or independent contractor as well. Number 2, there must be transparency and direct communication between the renter and the rentee, or the independent and the owner. So I love the people at Bad Mikey's. I'll be forever grateful for what they provided me to help me grow my business. But there were some times where they dropped the ball on a couple things. I remember it was a Friday night, and I get a text message that on Saturday the entire facility was going to be closed off to some event that they were having. The event had been scheduled for like a week or two, but no one knew about it. They just told everyone about it on a Friday night. Saturday, I had 6 clients scheduled. It was going to be a pretty big payday for me. Sunday, I was going to be away, so I couldn't reschedule any of my clients. So if I was relying on that Saturday to pay bills, pay mortgage, pay rent, and all of a sudden I have to cancel all my clients, one, I jeopardize, that, but also, how does that look for your clients when you're texting them at like 11:30 at night, like, hey, our sessions are canceled tomorrow, and then what does that do for their schedule? What if they decided that they wanted to stay home that weekend and train and not go hang out with family or not go take a trip? So if you're renting space from somewhere, when do they close? What are your limitations? Get everything in writing, get it all documented, especially if you're paying them rent. Like we had a contract that I had a flat rate, and when my business started to grow, here's the contract. You told me that you're not going to be increasing my rent no matter how big my business gets. And number 3, you can make an incredibly great living as an independent contractor. My last year as an independent contractor before I became a business owner, I made like $80,000 in cash, which might sound like a lot, but if you break down the numbers, especially in this area here, you can easily command $50 to $60 to $75 an hour. Somebody have a calculator here? So say you have, I don't know, say you train for 20 hours per week, which would be pretty part-time, and you're making $60 an hour. How much is that a week?
$1,200.
Times that by 50 weeks out of the year, give yourself 2 weeks vacation.
60K.
Yeah, that's cash. All right, so you can make a good living. It's easier said than done. Obviously, you have to get those clients and keep those clients. But you can make an incredibly great living as an independent contractor. After I had a very successful corporate career, I found, minus the cultural differences that the supervisor and I had, the same principles I learned in a corporate setting, I carried into the independent contractor setting, which is why I experienced success as an independent contractor. And knowing that success breeds success, I now decided, do I continue as an independent contractor making 80 grand a year, 100 grand a year? It wasn't, nothing was guaranteed. Again, if that business failed, what would that do to my business? Where would I start to train? So I decided, dude, it's time to do your own thing. All right, grow up. You know you got the skills, you got the passion, you got the fire. Take the risk. You've got nothing else to lose. So some of you might be at this point, some of you might be in corporate, some of you might be an independent contractor, and some of you might still be thinking, how on earth do I make $80,000 cash? How on earth do I make $100,000 cash? Reverse engineer what you want, number 1, like we talked about before. But just keep telling yourself you can do it. And that's so huge. If you spend a lot of mind time talking yourself out of it, telling yourself, like, how am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? Every minute, every hour you spend doing that is a minute or an hour you can no longer dedicate to figuring out how the fuck you're going to do it. And that's what you need to focus on. So, ownership. Are you ready? And here's how you know. So these are the big things that I looked for to decide whether or not I was ready to handle owning my own business. And again, this is all things that occur prior to signing a lease. And again, people own a fitness business. This is actually owning a brick and mortar, your own facility. Number 1, the location and the terms of the lease. 1, is the location you're going to move to convenient for your current clients? The last thing you want to do is move to a space that's going to jeopardize the people who are already paying for your services, because those are the people who are going to pay your bills right off the bat. When I moved into Putt Valley, it was convenient for my current clients. It was a community where I had a summer camp, a community where I coached football. People in the community already knew who I was, what I did. There was opportunity for growth, and there was no gym there already. So again, no competition. What's going to be the total monthly rent of that lease? What's the duration of that lease? What are the guarantees? And overall, what's your level of comfort? So total rent. How much is it going to be per month? And does that rent increase each year? Does it increase every 6 months? You really need to budget these things out. The duration of the lease. So in my initial lease of my current space, the rent started at $7 grand per month. The guy wanted me to sign a 5-year lease with an option for 5 and wanted me to sign a personal guarantee. I was uncomfortable with all of those things. Does anyone know what a personal guarantee is? So, personal guarantee means if your business fails, for the rest of your life, you are personally obligated to fulfill the financial commitment to that lease. So if T. Muljo Strength and Conditioning went out of business, every dollar John Muljo makes after has to continue to pay to the lease of the business that is no longer operating. So if the landlord wants this, tell him to go fuck himself. Never sign a personal guarantee. What you want to sign is a good guy guarantee. A good guy guarantee protects you and it also protects the landlord. So a good guy guarantee means you have to give the landlord a certain number of notice. Most of them ask for 120 days. You can negotiate down to 30, 60, 90. You give that landlord, hey, look, in 3 months, I'm calling it quits, I'm out. You're giving the landlord an opportunity to market the space, giving yourself enough time to get out of there. So you are telling the landlord you will be out of there and he will be available to rent the space to somebody else stress-free. Again, this process can take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months, because you're negotiating all of this shit back and forth and back and forth. So eventually my initial lease went back from $7,000 to $3,600 a month. I went from a 5-year plus 5 to only a 3-year lease, and I went from a personal guarantee to a good guy clause. I was comfortable with that, so I decided to sign the lease. My current space right now did the same exact thing. The guy wanted like $14,000 a month. I negotiated him down to $7,000 a month. He was actually pretty good on the duration. He was like, well, how long do you want it for? And I'm like, 5. And here's the other thing. If you're going to put a build out and invest a lot of money in a build out, allocate that build out. So my first facility, the build out was about $100,000. Of the $100,000 I spent, probably 25, 30 I can't take back in flooring. So it's pretty much $25,000 of flooring just gone because I decided to kind of move this space. So I know in my new space I'm going to be investing a lot of money, so I want to make sure my build out is going to be worth it, which is why I signed a little bit of a longer lease. So I negotiated my lease to something that I'm comfortable with, that the business is comfortable with. The business can actually afford it. Business plan. Who here has ever written a business plan? I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that said they want to open their own business. And I say, where's your plan? Show me your business plan. The fuck's the business plan? What's part of the business plan? What are you going to do? You think you're just going to like sign a lease, open a space, and shit's just going to happen? Not how it works. Key components in your business plan. The executive summary. What is your company going to do? What is your business going to do for the community? Especially if you're going to go to a bank or you're going to speak to an investor to help you financially fulfill this project, they're going to want to see this. And that's going to be the first thing they ask for. And if you don't have one initially, they're going to know you're full of shit. And they're not even going to ask for a second meeting or give you a chance to kind of write one up. What's your market analysis? What's your budget? What are your projections for the business? Number 3, a real big one and a real hard thing to do, especially for our generation with all the crazy expenses we have to deal with. Your cash on hand. So these are going to be some of the investments, some of the expenses you're going to have immediately. You're going to have to spend 1 to 2 months on a security deposit, and you're not going to see that either A, ever again, or B, at the end of a 3-year or a 5-year lease. So you might have maybe budgeted out $30,000 for your project, but totally forgot to budget out the $10,000 you have to give in a security deposit. And that is, as soon as you sign the lease, you're giving that check to the landlord, and that's just like, it's like fake money. You just like throw it. It sucks. You also have to give your landlord like your first month's rent. Your architect, those guys are pretty expensive. Your general contractor, so how much build out is going into it? What's the project actually going to cost? Here's a fun one. You need fucking permits for everything. It sucks. Like, everything. And permits cost money. It's just a town's way to make money off you. How much equipment are you gonna buy? Equipment's incredibly expensive. Flooring. My advice, if you're gonna own your own facility, I just found this out now in my second facility, you can buy interlocking rubber flooring that you can rip up and take with you if you decide to. So the guy I first bought my flooring from never told me that. I spent $20,000 in flooring for an extra $2,000. I could have got the interlocking material, which would have saved me $20,000 3 years later as I relocate the business. So get that interlocking shit. Sound and surveillance. If you are putting your entire life savings or someone else's money into a facility, protect it. You need to put cameras. Weird shit happens in facilities. I've been fortunate enough to not have anything happen in our facility, but I hear horror stories. You need to protect yourself. And put a legitimate sound system. Like, people are coming to work out. Who here trains without music? It's fucking awkward. Like, it's weird. People want music. Even if you don't like listening to music or you don't like certain music, I guarantee at least 95% of the people you work with are going to want to listen to music. So invest in a solid sound system. So all this, right away. This can go anywhere from like $10,000, trying to get real freaky with your facility, 6 figures, millions of dollars, up to you. All right. Other thing you need to look at is your current income. Is your current income equal or greater than the projected monthly expenses of your facility? So we just talked about some expenses, but these are the ones you're going to see every single month. What's your rent? What's your insurance? What are your utilities going to be? Figure this all out before you sign the lease. What software are you going to use? If you're going to have a loan, how much of that loan are you going to have to pay back per month? Do you have an accountant? You should. How much is your accountant cost per month? And also included in this should be a reasonable salary to the owner, right? The last thing you want to do is put all of your money into a facility and you're not paying yourself. I'm not telling you to go crazy and pay yourself. My first year in business, I paid myself $28,000. I paid myself enough money to get free health insurance, like the bare minimum to get free health insurance and to buy my groceries and make my car payment and my cell phone, and like that was it. Yeah, so especially with current income, most people they'll want to open a business and it's going to cost $10,000 to $12,000 to $13,000 a month, but they're making like 2 or 3. Like, as soon as you open for business, like 10 grand of business doesn't magically walk into your facility. So if you don't have this yet, just wait. Just wait and continue to save and continue to save and continue to save. And when you meet these standards, the first month you're open, you'll be profitable. Don't operate for a year in debt. You're going to jeopardize yourself. Just wait. Continue to wait. Continue to wait. Number 5, looking for opportunities for available financing. So are you going to take on an investor? Are you going to take on a partner? Are you going to go to the bank and try and get an SBA? So I took out an SBA to secure 6 months of operating funds, pretty much just as an oh shit fund. I had the amount of money saved up, but I wanted to make sure that if we had a bad month, a bad 2 months, a bad 3 months, I could continue to keep the business going. And this kind of helps me go back to, if you're not documenting anything financially and you go to the bank, if you go to take out a loan, you're probably going to get denied. So I had to, and I hated to do this, I had to ask my brother to co-sign on a loan for me. And the conversation went like this. Hey man, I'm thinking about opening a gym in Putnam Valley, but the bank doesn't want to give you the money, so can you co-sign on that loan? And his response was, you're opening a gym where? I'll pay you any amount of money to not open a gym in Putnam Valley. So I unfortunately had to put my brother in a pretty tough spot. He just got engaged, he was planning for a wedding, he was going to start joining his accounts. This was a tough decision for him. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to pay off that loan. He's no longer associated with it. But the last thing you want to do is put family in a tough position. Because if I defaulted on this, I would feel terrible if my brother was paying back an SBA loan because I failed. Number 6, check your mindset. You need to start to think like a business owner. You're no longer just a trainer. You're no longer just a coach. When you own a business, you got to do design work. You got to do marketing. You got to do bookkeeping. You got to start to do some administrative work. You're not going to do all of this. Don't try and do all of this. So really start to think about who's going to help with these things. because that's what part of being a business owner is, all of that stuff. And lastly, your willingness. And a lot of people just aren't willing. Willing to do what? Willing to sacrifice time with friends, willing to sacrifice time with family, willing to sacrifice maybe buying a house, willing to sacrifice fun. Like, you have to be willing to sacrifice a lot of things. And the other thing is, willing to take a risk. This is tough. If you were going to dump your entire life and risk it all on owning a business, you will lose sleep. It is scary. You might not want to do it. So when you're doing like a risk assessment at the initial time, I wasn't married, I didn't have kids, I didn't have a mortgage, I pretty much paid off all my student loans. So the worst thing that could have happened was I just failed, right? Most people, they're trying to open a business now, they have kids, they're married, they have a mortgage, like they have all this other shit. Like if I just failed when I opened this business, that was it was me. I wasn't not gonna be able to feed a family, I wasn't gonna not lose a house. So I was a prime candidate for risk. Now I'm taking a big risk, and it's, what happens if I fail? How many people don't have a job? How many members no longer have a place to work out? So assess your risk. I'm very confident in my team. I'm very confident in myself, which is why I made the decision to do this. And then I also asked myself, what would happen to my life and my business if I didn't take this risk? And I feel like a lot of people don't ask themselves that. So I sat down one morning in the gym by myself, put on my meditation music. I do that sometimes. And I really started to visualize, what would your life look like if you stayed in Putnam Valley for the next 5 years? Or what would happen if you actually did go to Club Fit? And the thing that tipped me over was, when I was visualizing staying in the Putnam Valley, I envisioned another business going into Shrub Oak, which was the next market for us to grow into. And if another business went into Shrub Oak, how would that jeopardize the future of our growth and our success? And it was like, shit, you gotta do it. That's it. Don't even give someone else an opportunity to take away what you know you can do for another community. So, the biggest lessons I learned prior to signing Lease, if you're close with your clients, you're going to have conversations with a lot of people about this idea. I know Casey and I had a lot of I'm thinking about opening a gym. What do you think? Everyone you talk to thinks they're a fucking expert about everything, and they're not. So you'll ask people, what do you think about this? Well, you should really do this at your gym. You should have this at your gym. And a lot of the ideas people are going to give you are not very feasible. But the most important thing I encourage you to do here is listen to everyone. Let them know that you value what they're inputting. But at the end of the day, this is your life. This is your risk. You need to make your call. Number 2, bartering.
That's great.
An awesome example of bartering. Nicole is my manager. When she first started working at the gym, hey, I really suck at all this admin shit, and I don't want to go on social media, and I don't want to do any of this bookkeeping. How about I train you for free, and you do that stuff for a couple hours? She was like, all right, yeah, I'll do that. But it turned out to be the best bartering option I've done. So bartering can be good. Bartering can also be bad. I had a guy told me, I'll put up a locker room for you, I'll do some graphics for you, I'll make your chin-up bar. The guy does awesome work. Just train my kids for free. All right. I didn't provide set terms, he never disclosed any price, he never asked me for any money. And his kids trained, but they would cancel all the time. So I'd say they trained about 50 times, but they probably canceled 60 times. And a mistake I made was I never charged them for canceling because it was awkward because we were bartering. So it was just awkward. And a year and a half later, he got hit up by someone to pay him back some money, and he had no cash because all of his money was invested. So here he comes with this big folder, and he's like, hey John, I did a lot of work. I need to make some ends meet, tie up some loose ends. I did $12,000 of work for you. Can we like start to pay that off? Whoa, I got nowhere. So a lot of people want to barter. You know, if you train me for free, I'll do this, this, and that. Like assess it and think about the long-term effects of bartering with that person. And here's another one. Like everyone has a guy. Oh, you're opening a new gym? I have a guy who does like floor work. I have a guy who does like who works for like payroll and ADP. Everyone's got a guy for something. You really need to assess it. Number one, you got to assess the amount of money you're going to spend on these things. So I had an opportunity to do signage with someone, and the signage was going to cost like $1,200. Then I had another client refer her husband to do signs, and the signs were going to be $1,800, $600 more. So if I would have said no to her, like how would that have looked? Like she's spent $600 a month, and she wanted to get her husband some business to do some signage for us. If I would have said no, although he was more expensive, what would that have done to our relationship going forward? So for me, it was worth it to spend the extra $600 initially at signs to know that I would keep a client happy who was spending $600 a month on training. You kind of, you went through all this stuff, and you're like, all right, I'm ready. Like, the location, the terms of the lease, I'm comfortable with it. The business plan, I got it all in place. Everyone thinks it's awesome. I got some bartering lined up. I'm ready to go. The bank approved the loan. Like, I'm gonna sign this lease. That's it. Like, the only thing you're focusing on right now is being successful. You're not thinking about what's gonna happen if you fail. You're not thinking about what's gonna happen if things don't go right. The only thing you're thinking about is making things successful, generating income, growing your business. So you start the build-out process. I'm like doing this all right now. Like this is all happening as I give this presentation. So you got estimates from your GC, right? Those are bullshit. Like your general contractor is gonna say, oh, it's gonna be like this much. Like build a bigger budget, up to 25 to 35%. So if they say your flooring is gonna be 20 grand, it's gonna be 25 grand. If your sound and surveillance is gonna be 15 grand, it's gonna be 20 grand. If your general contractor is gonna be 30 grand, it's gonna be like 45 grand. If they tell you it's gonna take a week, it's gonna take a month. If they tell you it's gonna take a month, it's gonna take 2 months. All right, so give yourself a bigger timeline, give yourself a bigger budget. Your architectural plans will have to be revised. I've revised my architectural plans for this new space probably 8 times. I was in the space 2 days ago, and just because something looks great on the plans, when you like put it out there in like the real universe, it doesn't look good. And if you make an adjustment, you have to let your architect know. And every time your architect logs onto a software and just maybe changes one squiggly line, he's going to bill you for an hour. And architects charge a lot of money per hour. I mentioned this before, you need a permit for everything, and permits cost money. So before you decide to sign the lease, speak with the town that you're operating in or the city and say, hey, I'm going to open a business. What are your requirements from small businesses that are opening up? What's the signage, what's the sign permit going to look like? What's the demo permit going to look like? What's the building permit going to look like? What's the fire alarm permit going to look like? All of these things, figure it out. Plan all of your deliveries accordingly. The last thing you want is to have like all this massive equipment delivered and then your flooring comes in, right? You want your flooring to go in first, but you want to paint the walls before you put your turf down, right? So order these things and plan these things. Like spray paint your ceiling before you put brand new stuff on the floor. Set all your electric. Like you need to speak with someone and understand the order of these things. Prime example here is we have a 24-foot wall-mounted rack, and the wall rack had to be installed before the rubber flooring was installed. Wall rack was scheduled to come in Monday, flooring was scheduled to go in Tuesday. Monday comes around, wall rack comes in. I'm in Texas, my dad sends me a picture, and it's like a red wall-mounted rack. Now, for those of you who haven't been to my facility, there's no fucking red in my facility, it's all purple. So that floor rack had to get picked up by a freight truck, sent back, had to talk to Gopher, the company who sent it to us, another week lead out. These floor guys have other endeavors. They have other things they have to do. So if you push them back, you have to pay them for the day that they were supposed to come in and install the flooring. Don't be a pushover. If somebody fucks up, let them know they fucked up. So we called Gopher and we were like, yo, you just pushed my project back a week. It's gonna cost me like an extra $1,500. You guys gotta do something about this. And we kind of negotiated that a little bit. And I said, look, these are New York City price contractors. I told them it was gonna cost like $4,000 for the delay. It was like $1,500. The rack was only $3,000. They gave me the rack for free. It's pretty sick. So don't be a pushover. Don't be like, oh, all right, it's okay that you messed this up. No big deal. No, you gotta fight for it. Things will start to suffer. Your personal health will start to suffer. I haven't been sick in 3 years. Last time I got sick, I was opening a business. Got sick this week. I'm opening a business. There's a coincidence there. Your personal training time will start to suffer. Your working with clients will start to suffer, because when I'm in a session working with someone, I'm not thinking about that client. It's fucked up. I'm thinking about everything else that needs to be done to make sure the project is kind of going well. There's no such thing as a cheap trip to Home Depot. I wanted to change this. The other day I went to Home Depot and had to buy a bag of Quikrete, and it was only $5. So there is a such thing as a cheap trip to Home Depot. But you will learn about Home Depot, and you'll actually start to enjoy walking around there. It's pretty cool. The employees are pretty nice.
They always know where everything is.
And plan for non-work related expenses. 2 weeks after I signed the biggest checks of my life, my brother decided he wanted to book his bachelor party trip to Amsterdam. How much? When do you want to do it? So, and then I also was going to Texas to watch a client play in the U17 national game. So you need to kind of save some money when your brother decides that he wants to do a $4,000 bachelor party. It was worth it. It was still worth it, but caused a lot of stress. So ultimately, expect the unexpected, and what can go wrong will go wrong in the build-out process. You're focused throughout the build-out, and I'm doing a much better job with this now, and it's much easier since I have an awesome team and I don't do as much training. Like, I was teaching all the classes, training 40 to 50 hours a week. I don't do that anymore, so now I can actually focus on retaining my clients, focus on gaining new clients, not compromise the quality of service that I'm delivering, which is huge, and still focus on the project that's going on in the background. Lessons learned here. You will second guess the decision you made, but as I mentioned before, you cannot spend a lot of time thinking about how things are going to go wrong. If you have a poor attitude,
Poor results.
poor results. So have a great attitude about the decision you made. There's a reason why you're in that position. Have confidence, follow through with it. It's just straight tunnel vision to success. Things are going to go wrong, but at the end of the day, I know I'm going to have a successful business, and when shit goes wrong, I know it's not the end. I just keep moving forward, keep moving forward. It will take more time, and it will cost more money. And I found that this kind of relates to outside of just a business too. It's everything else in life. So that's like a life lesson right there. Lastly, it's so surreal. Enjoy it, embrace it. It's so fucking worth it. I've never been so stressed out in my life. I've never lost so much sleep in my life. But I've never had enough people say thank you, say congratulations, say how much we've had an impact on their life, tell me how I've impacted kids. Like, that's worth it for me. Like, it's worth everything for me. So, after your build out, you're ready to do business. How do you know? The facility is clean, it's safe, it's neat, and it's ready for traffic, right? Your facility should always be tour ready, and it's always making an awesome first impression. You've had a soft opening or some type of pre-sales week. So prior to opening for classes or private training, you've launched some type of pre-sale activity where you get to get some traffic to your door, talk to people about what you do, what are your offerings, what are your prices, what can they expect. You're ready to accept all methods of payment and supply receipts or other proof of purchase documentation. A lot of business owners just decide that they're going to not take credit cards right away. No one's showing up to your facility with cash. So if you're not taking credit cards, you're going to do something wrong. But a lot of people will want receipts for a couple reasons. Maybe their insurance reimburses them for training. Maybe they just like to hoard receipts. So make sure you're able to provide them with a receipt. Email them a receipt. You can clearly and concisely explain your programs, services, offerings, days, times, and pricing. This is where you start to really sound like a professional. My name is John Moljo. I'm the owner of Team Moljo Strength and Conditioning. We offer private training, small group training, group classes at different times. Private training costs this much money. Group classes cost this much money. If you don't know these things, you're just going to sound like not a professional. I'll try and be polite there. People aren't going to want to do business with you. And this is going to be the question that you're constantly asked if you're a brand new business. What do you guys do? Which leads me into, I see it's on the next slide. Oh, here's the other one. All of your toiletries are in place. Women go nuts if you don't have like hand soap in your bathroom. So make sure you have hand soap in your bathroom. Make sure you have paper towels. Make sure you have air fresheners in your bathroom. Make sure you have like air fresheners around your facility, paper towels around your facility. Like, I don't think about these things like I'm a guy. So if there was like a bunch of women coming in, they'd be like, hand sanitizer is like a real big one too. Make sure you have that sitting around.
Biggest thing we go through is hair ties.
Yeah.
Same.
Fishbowl every
Make
2
sure you got
weeks.
hair ties.
Empty and full.
Yeah.
Empty and full.
Here's some values
Um,
too, in case short hair.
You've received a copy of your insurance policy. Some people may require you to show them a copy of your insurance policy. The town may require you to show them a copy. Your landlord might require you to show them a copy of your insurance policy. You received a CO, which is your certificate of occupancy from the town. If you don't receive your certificate of occupancy, the town can legitimately cease business operations, so you will be paying rent and not generating any income. So make sure the town is a part of the entire process. You are doing due diligence by the town. They provide you with a certificate of occupancy, so there's no hiccups, no loss of business, no issues. And you've made the necessary hires to help in the early stages of business. I knew immediately I needed admin help. If I was going to be delivering all the training, doing all the sessions, I needed someone to have my back to do all of the important but stuff that wasn't my 5%. Things that I'm not great at. Hence, Nicole. What's up, Pope?
Hey, how's it going?
Sarah Pope, guys.
Hey guys, how are you?
So again, now your immediate focus, and this is kind of like crazy because like it's always a focus whether you're opening a business or right now in business. Increase awareness and sales. How do you do this? Number one, don't piss off your existing clients. Don't jeopardize your existing clients. Focus on retention. These people have been committed to you. They want to stay committed to you. They want to be a part of the process. Check your professionalism, and here's a big one. Appearance. You are a business owner now. Look like a business owner. Guerrilla marketing. Go door to door. Business to business. Let people know you're in the community. You're here to help. This is what you're going to be offering. This right here, this is free. Personalized emails. You have a network of people. I can't tell you the benefits of writing a personalized email to someone and then getting them to sign up for training or classes. This is huge. Leverage all social media and other free, cheap, and marketing platforms. Learn how to give an incredible tour. My goal at the end of every tour is before even talking about training, people want to be there. The facility is so awesome. I've described it incredibly well. I make sure my staff knows how to give a tour. The facility is sexy. The facility sells your business. They see it's clean. They see you have awesome equipment. It's got nice colors. It smells good. And lastly, deliver an exceptional consultation. So this might be the first time you're spending up to 45 minutes to an hour with someone. If you are bad at this, they are never going to come back to you. Neil talked about it. Casey talked about it. Learn how to give an awesome consultation. And if it's early in your career, maybe you're doing it for free, maybe you get paid for it, but this is where you're going to build a lot of value. Careers get make and they get broke right here. So if you're at a facility right now and their consultation process sucks, you guys need to do something about it. Here's a fun list of what the fucks. So as soon as you open your business, everyone all of a sudden wants a discount. And it's really annoying. So I had plenty of clients say, you're going to charge how much for classes? Let me get a discount. and it's usually like the wealthiest people that want a discount.
That's why they're so wealthy.
No money.
They never pay full price.
So you know, here I am. It's like, wait, see all this stuff? Shit wasn't free. It's the last thing I could do right now. I'm not saying discounting's bad because there are people who are deserving of it, but that's the thing. They need to be deserving of it. Just because they're asking for it doesn't mean they get it. They need to be deserving of it. You'll get state and federal compliance letters, which seems like every week. Abide by these. Otherwise, like, I've never had any issues, but I have this like fear that like the federal government is just gonna come into my and start looking for compliance posters and start just slapping fines on the desk because we're not abiding by their laws. But like all these companies contact you and they're like, well, you need to have this up. You need to have it. This poster costs like $90. I'm like, what? It costs $90? So you'll get these letters. Just comply. I just feel like we put them in the mail and they just go to like some imaginary person who's just making money. New York State Insurance Fund. So if you're going to hire independent contractors, you're going to have to pay workers' comp. And the more money they make, the more money you have to pay to New York State Insurance Fund. So either A, negotiate with your independent contractors that, hey, you're going to be responsible for workers' comp, or I'm going to be responsible for workers' comp. It's going to be a 50-50. But this is a hidden expense. We got slapped in the head with like a $6,000 workers' comp, and it sucked. Credit card fees. Another hidden expense. You should be taking credit cards. We pay $1,500 to $2,000 a month in credit card fees. And I want to like hang myself every month I see it get taken out. But it's way, way cheaper than chasing people at the end of the month for a check or cash. It's just the cost of doing business. So make sure you're negotiating with different processors, find yourself the best rate. And like I mentioned before, these compliance posters that are buried underneath all my sweatshirts. But if someone walks in and I don't know them, I'm like, spreading them out just to make sure we're doing all right. Keeping your facility clean is work. So when I first opened my gym, I was like, just gotta like mop the floors, vacuum, and like no big deal. Yo, you're not gonna clean your facility by yourself. And you better keep your facility clean. So barter this, and then make your entire staff a part of this process as well. I don't believe in having a cleaning service for a couple reasons. One, they're not going to keep it as clean as your staff would. Also, delegate this to the members. Like at the end of the class, members like go nuts trying to clean our place. But that's because they see us go nuts trying to clean our place. And they want a clean facility to work out in. Not everyone who said they were going to continue to train with you when you open your facility will. So expect a couple people to not be a part of that process. And the ones who said they are going to stay with you, are they going to stay with you for the next year, 2 years? If maybe after a month they realize it's kind of inconvenient for them and they're not going to adapt to change. Like I had to let go of two very, very good clients in this process. So if you have a client who's spending $600 to $1,000 a month and you kind of budgeted them out to be part of your financial projections over the next year and they stop training after a month, what does that do? Your electric, your heat, and utilities is going to cost more than you budgeted for. When I first opened the gym, I'm like, we only have like 2 treadmills that run on power and lights. But for some reason, like your electric bill is still a lot of money. If you have like Wi-Fi or speakers, your emergency exit lights, they're always on. Take out electric. So plan more for your utilities. If you have Wi-Fi problems, it's the end of the world in your facility for a couple reasons. One, you can no longer take payment. You can no longer utilize your software. Our music is hooked up to Wi-Fi, so it gets like really awkward in the facility when the Wi-Fi goes. And we usually lose out on Wi-Fi because we have power outages. So what are the power outages like in your space? Like we lose power all the time. So how many routers have we gone through? Like 1 million? So find out if there's a lot of power outages in your area. Find out about, like, does the town clean the roads pretty well in your area? Because if there's a snow day, and the town decides they're going to wait till the end of the day to kind of plow where your business is located, you're going to miss out on a day of business. So you need to plan, is your business financially ready to handle a snow day? Is it financially ready to handle a power outage if it happens? Again, so that 6-month oh shit fund, have to have that. You'll have to change light bulbs. Toilets will clog, toilets will back up. These things just happen. There's nothing about this in your NASM book, nothing about these things in your personal training books, but most of this shit, right, it's minute. It's just a headache, but life and business goes on after it. They all need to get dealt with quickly, but don't dwell on it. Just move on from it. Biggest lessons I learned early in business. You can't do it all by yourself. You need to be willing to accept help. And that was huge for me. For being an independent contractor for 2.5 years, I had no boss, I didn't have a team. I did everything on my own. That's kind of just me having like a personal chip on my shoulder issue. And once I realized that my big vision for my business would not happen with only effort from myself, I needed to really let go and be willing to accept help, but also trust that people have good intentions and trust their ability to help you. The lessons is not everyone will be willing, hoping, and happy with the change that you're making, but just because they help you get to where you are doesn't mean they're entitled to go where you're going. I had some clients who didn't buy into the big vision, didn't like the facility, were in disagreement with what I wanted to do with my life. Well, you don't want to be a part of it. Our relationship ends here. It's unfortunate, but that's how it goes. And be prepared to have the same conversation over and over and over again, especially when you're new in business. What do you guys do? How much does it cost? You're going to have that conversation 100 times. I heard drinking wine is good for you. I heard dark chocolate is good for weight loss. Like, this will be a conversation. These will be conversations you have 100 times, but it'll be the first time that prospect is having that conversation with a professional. So also treat it like it's the first time you're having that conversation as well. Don't be robotic. Don't be annoyed by it. As long as people continue to ask you questions, ask you for information, you're going to continue to have a job and be useful. Helpful. But whether I was in the corporate setting, a director, assistant, intern director in college, independent contractor, or a business owner, there were always some constants, and those were, number one, people always came first. All right, every day I'm striving and focusing on improving and maintaining my relationships with my staff, with my clients, with local business owners, people in the network. I'm focusing on producing results. That's what you're being paid for, especially when you're dealing with clients. People have a goal that they want to achieve, a result, a desirable outcome. You need to help them get that. Go above and beyond wherever you can. So again, be early, help clean, give additional points of contact, show up at events, go out to dinner. It's huge. Protect your time, so stick to a planner. If you're protecting your time and achieving your personal things, you can then provide a better service to other people. If you don't protect your time and you put a little bit too much on your plate, you're going to start to slip up and you're going to provide a disservice and frustrate some clients. And lastly, like, sales isn't slimy, and if you're in this industry, you're going to have to do it forever. So again, always focus on retaining your current clients, own their business every day. But be proactive in getting clients. Like, how many of you guys know you can help improve the quality of life in someone? Right? How many of you guys know you can be a good role model for someone? How many of you guys know you can teach someone things that could change their life for the better? Right? When you realize that that's what you're selling, was any of that slimy?
No.
Would you guys pay someone to do that for you? Right? That's what you're selling. And here's the other thing. We're all personal trainers, right? Most of us are personal trainers. How many of you guys actually have a personal trainer or pay for programming? That's a big thing, too. When your clients see that you even make an investment in programming, you even make an investment in training, when you make an investment in coaching, they're like, well, if he does it, I have to do it. And that's a big disconnect. Most trainers think that, like, I don't need programming, I could do it myself. No one's gonna tell me how to do it. I'm not gonna be teachable in these areas. Like, go out there, pay for training. It will change your life. Pay for coaching. It will change your life. So just to kind of wrap up, not every day will be perfect, but every day is an opportunity to get better. And that's all I'm trying to do every single day, is just progress, progress, progress. I'm not perfect. I'll never be perfect. But every day I go to sleep better than when I woke up. And that's all I can ask for. And just do it, assess, do better, repeat. I think Neil summed this up a little bit better. Just reflect. What are you doing? What did you do well? Do more of that. Where do you need to improve? And improve on that. And that's just, it's a daily battle, each and every day. Thank you. What do we got? Is the tally still going?
27.
Who won?
Looks like,
I actually think you missed a few, I'm not gonna lie.
no,